Last night, the Montreal Canadiens played off against the Detroit Red Wings, and for lack of a better term, they got smoked. It wasn't good, it was kind of ugly, and for the Canadiens, this was a team where you could definitely see the injuries coming into play. Because if you take a look at the starting lineup for the Habs against Detroit, this is their first line. Sean Farrell, Nick Suzuki, and Jesse Alonen. You then had Hoffman, Evans, and Gallagher as your second line, which is honestly pretty okay. Guryanov, Drouin, Armia third line, Pezzetta, Tierney, Petlik as your fourth line. And this is kind of the thing. I love Sean Farrell as much as the next guy. I love Jesse Alonen as much as the next guy. But if you were to tell me that sometime in 2022-2023, after Farrell had signed his ELC, he would be a first-line winger alongside of Alonen, I'd kind of be like, okay, something's going on here. And then on defense, you had Mike Matheson, Justin Barron, Edmondson, Kovacevic, Schruneman, Weidman, and then for goalies, you had Primo and Montembeault. Here's the thing. The Montreal Canadiens have so many guys that are out, injured, day-to-day, out for the season, that it's kind of getting a little... It's a little much here. Hockey gods, if you're writing this script, please go out there and stop. Like, we don't need this anymore. We can have better things if you just decide to stop giving the Canadiens injuries. I mean, you had Justin Barron on your first pairing, and like, no disrespect to Barron, but he needs a little bit more time. Mike Matheson has admittedly been playing a lot better for the Canadiens the past little while. He's been really good, oddly enough. But when you go over to the guys that had been out and the players that are not available to the Canadiens, this is a tweet made by Priyanta Emrith from a few days ago that kind of talks about everything that the Canadiens have at their disposal here. Here is a full list of injured Canadiens players done for the season. Cole Caufield is out with a shoulder injury. We all kind of know how good Cole Caufield has been. He was the absolute saint that the Canadiens had when it came to scoring goals. He is the best goal scorer on the team. He is going to remain that for the next few years, most likely. And once he's back and healthy again, you are probably going to see this guy get 30 to 35 goals per year. Maybe even 40, maybe 45. He's really talented, and the Canadiens have not had the benefit of having Caufield services at their disposal for the past few weeks. I think he said himself that if the Canadiens were in the playoff race a little bit more, they were fighting more so for a wild card, then I think Caufield would have been available more so to play through the injury and not decide to take the year off with the surgery that he needed to get, but the Canadiens were not great. Caufield was like, okay, I gotta get better for next season. Let's go out there and do the surgery, and that was that. Next up, you have Arber Xhekaj, also out with a shoulder injury. And for Arber Xhekaj, he's been a really good story for the Habs this year. He has garnered so much hate from other teams' fan bases because of the way he plays. He's really physical, he's really big, he's very strong too, and just one of the more complete players in the Canadiens' defensive zone when it comes to just being a menace. Xhekaj is tough to play against, and he's got so much going for him when it comes to just being that bully in the Canadian zone that over the next few seasons, I think a lot of Habs fans are pretty excited, you know, just to see how much hate this guy can garner from other teams' fan bases. Sure, he might have a questionable hit here and there, but it comes with the territory, you know, it's the sport we play, or the sport they play. I'm not on the ice, they are. Next up, you have yourselves Josh Anderson out with an ankle injury, and that's a tough one, considering Anderson was one of the top point scorers on the team this year with 21 goals and 32 assists in 69 games played. However, you will notice that 69 games played. He did have a whole bunch of games before eventually getting sidelined, and I think everybody kind of knows what Anderson is. Power forward guy, big skater type of guy, he's got a stride, he's got a shot, and the Canadiens are going to be lacking that for the remainder of the season. You then move on to some defensemen. David Savard, Kaiden Guhle, knee, ankle injuries. They're both out for the remainder of the season. Cooley has been out for a while, but that's pretty much an entire pairing at your disposal gone from the lineup. There's some experience with Savard. Sure, he wasn't the best player that Canadiens fans thought he would have been able to be this season, but for Kaiden Guhle, man, the guy had a really good year and a really good stint as a member of the Habs before getting sidelined with his ankle injury. Just so calm on the breakout, so capable in his own zone, just a very pure defensive, puck-moving defenseman in the spirit. And I think a lot of Canadiens fans, myself included, are super excited as to what Guhle could provide in the future. He's still so young, he's still got a lot of potential, but with him, Savard, and Xhekaj being out, it's kind of the reason you got guys like Justin Barron, for example, in your first pairing now. You then move over on to some more forwards. Christian Dvorak is out with a knee injury. That's a bad one because he's been a pretty capable guy this entire time he's been in Montreal. Sure, he may not be as good as Jesperi Kotkaniemi is right now, but the Canadiens got a whole bunch of stuff for KK that they were able to use to get younger players, so I think it's pretty alright. Juraj Slafkovský is out with a lower body injury, and that's just a really unfortunate story too. I think a lot of Canadiens fans sort of feel that the breakout for Slafkovsky still is on the horizon. We haven't seen this guy display his full potential, even in any remote respect this season. So next season, hopefully he's coming back stronger. He's coming back with his head up a little bit more too. And hopefully he's able to show off why he went first overall in the first place. If he can be that big power-scoring winger that has a lot of finesse and is able to use his size to his advantage, then the best is definitely yet to come out of Uri. It's just whether or not that happens next year, or 2, 3, 4 years from now, that remains the question. Long story short, though, it didn't happen this year, but hopefully he's able to use the time off to fix himself up and get himself prepared for next year. Same could be said about Sean Monahan, who is out with a groin injury, and Monahan is not going to be a Hab next season, most likely not. I'm not really too sure where he's going to go, but I think for Monahan and the small service that he did provide, his point production was honestly pretty great. 17 points in 25 games played. If you do the math over 82 games, he was on pace for 55 points, which is actually really solid for a guy that was placed in the circumstances that Monahan was, where he was an overpaid, bottom-played player on Calgary. They needed to trade him away to get the cap space to sign Kadri. The Flames gave up a first-round pick to send away Monahan to Montreal, which is why the trade in and of itself was a win, because the Habs got that first, and they got some good production out of Monahan in general, which, I mean, it's their prerogative if they want to sign him again, but I don't really know if that's going to be the case here. Monahan was making a whole bunch of money last season, or this season, excuse me, and he is 28, so who knows if the Canadiens would be interested in bringing that type of a player back. And then you have yourselves Alex Belzile, who was out with a fractured leg. And Belzile, I mean, the guy got injured just a few days ago. When the announcement was made that he was going to be out, a lot of Canadiens fans were kind of freaking out because, hey, there's another one added to the list of players done for the season. And for Belzile, I mean, the guy just had such a nice story. Being a journeyman, going over to the AHL, being the Habs Laval Rocket guy for so long, and eventually making his way onto the main squad, and scoring some goals. He had his time to shine at the NHL level, and you really couldn't be happier for a guy like a lot of Canadiens fans were for Belzile. It's just unfortunate that he's out. Priyanta Emrith says here on the replies in the tweet that he blocked a shot in Saturday's game, which is why he's out. And then you had yourselves the Canadiens announcements for guys that were out in yesterday's game who were day-to-day. Jake Allen, Rafael Harvey-Pinard, and Jordan Harris. That's another trio of legitimately talented players on this team, with Xhekaj, Cooley, Jordan Harris, and David Savard all out. That's a top 4. A top 4 that you don't have available to you, and it's why the Canadiens have to rely on so many extra players to step in this season that you have crazy stats like this popping up on the year. Tonight, or yesterday, Habs players who accounted for 117 goals this season were all sitting in the press box injured. And if that doesn't scream how badly everything has gone for Montreal, then I don't know what will. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canadiens' injuries and the guys who are out. Let me know your thoughts as to whether or not these guys have potential to make a good impact next year. What do you expect out of them next season? Cole Caufield, what do you think he's going to be able to accomplish? What do you think a guy like Slafkovsky is going to be able to do? Xhekaj? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.